We're now joined by Marcus Sibley, who is chairman of the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee at the New Jersey State Conference of the NAACP. Marcus, great to have you with us.
Thanks so much, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Listen, there's a quote that you have I want you to elaborate on. The environment, you said, is where social justice and criminal justice intersect. Just look at asthma. Talk to us.
Well, a lot of people don't really realize the connection. This is why we work so hard at New Jersey State Conference, NAACP, to make people understand that the environment impacts every aspect of your life. So if you're living in a housing complex, that housing complex has has mold, that's going to lead to you having asthma. And then that's going to lead to you missing school. The leading reason that kids miss school is due to asthma. So when kids miss school, then they're going to be behind on their lesson. So when kids are behind, sometimes they have other attention-seeking behaviors because they're not getting the attention from the academic side. So then you have people acting out. So once they start acting out, because of racism in our country, when the Black and brown kids act out, they're going to be sent into more harsher penalties, and that's what starts the school to prison pipeline. So right there, you see from environmental justice an automatic connection to health, automatic connection to criminal justice. So all these things are interrelated. So this is why we work very, very hard to educate our constituents on those connections so that we'll have more people involved in this fight.
You know, from an historical perspective, and again, I'm managing time here, but it's important for people to know that the NAACP, that one of the first most important cases was back, I believe, in the late 1950s, the Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, if you will. Justice Thurgood Marshall argued that case on behalf of the NAACP?
Yes, sir.
Help folks understand, as we go fast forward, the incredibly important role that the organization played and that case played in where we are today. It matters.
Well, all acts to restore equity and to provide equity are important. This is why we're involved in education. Thurgood Marshall understood that separate wasn't always equal. So the fight then, and the fight is a little bit different now, but the fight then was to understand that the white-only model wasn't working. It wasn't moving the country forward. So we need to understand that education is a basic human right. Everyone should be entitled to the opportunity to be educated so you can go ahead and better yourself and better your community and better your family. So the NAACP, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. And segregation in and of itself, even though there's a lot of self-segregation going on right now, there was legally government-sanctioned segregation in our schools.
Yeah.
And that's what that case with the Brown versus Board of Education was.
100%. And Steve, the problem with the segregation was when people are segregated, they're losing out on opportunities to have an equitable life. So you have a huge racial wealth gap here in New Jersey. All of that is due to segregation and exploitative practices and laws. So the NAACP, we're a nonpartisan organization, but we're very political because we realize that the racism is embedded in the laws. It's a part of the fabric of society. So when it comes down to redistricting, the zoning, the redlining, the homes, even in New Jersey to this day, there are still some deeds that say you cannot sell this to a Black person. Like that's our history in this state. So these are the things that NAACP fights and tries to change the legislation, because we can scream in the streets all day, but if it doesn't get passed in the form of a law, then as President Smith always said, we just had to get together.
Well said. Hey, listen, I want to follow up on this. Incinerators, waste treatment facilities, disproportionately based in urban Black and brown communities, correct?
Yes, sir.
Not an accident?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
What does it mean? First of all, how does it happen? B, what are the implications of that?
Okay, thank you. Great question. It happens because in these communities, they don't have a voice. So you take things that are inopportune to communities that can't voice their opinion and say no. And a really quick caveat is anything that comes to your town has to be voted upon. So this is why holding our elected officials accountable is important, because any facility that comes to a town, your town council and your planning board has to give the okay for that project to proceed. So the first thing that happens is people vote for it to happen. That's the first thing. The second thing that happens is when it comes into these communities, some of the highest level of lead, particulate matter, toxins, dioxins. Just imagine when you smell rubber burning, like if you smell plastic burning, you know that smell isn't a great smell, and you know that can't be good for your system. So when you have an incinerator burning all types of plastics, all types of rubber, all types of metal, and all those particulates that are coming into the air, we inhale those. So when we fast forward now, Steve, we see our community was devastated by COVID-19. The correlation is the pollution impacts your respiratory system. So when you already have a compromised respiratory system, when you have an agent like a virus that attacks your respiratory system, you're going to be more susceptible to more impactful harm. So that's why we say we want these facilities gone, because there's so many families that have been impacted. You know, the generational impacts of pollution, like the lost wages, the hospital time, the lost work, all the things you lose. And who's gaining from that? The people who bring the facilities and the people who aren't saying no. They're also gaining as well, if I can put it nicely.
Hey, Marcus, do this. I'm going to ask our producers if we can do a separate segment with you, because there's a lot more I want to talk to you about. But I want to thank you for joining us on this program. Marcus Sibley is chairman of the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee at the New Jersey State Conference of the NAACP. Marcus, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Stay with us. No, Jackie, I'm going to the end, right? Thank you. We did too many segments today. I'm thrown off. We'll see you next time, I promise. I'll get it right.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by PSC&G, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities Clean Energy Program, Johnson & Johnson, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the New Jersey Education Association, University Hospital, and by Caldwell University. Promotional support provided by Insider NJ and by NJ Biz.
Every day, nearly 2 million customers across New Jersey rely on PSC&G to provide natural gas. And every day, PSC&G is committed to doing it safely. That includes making sure you know what to do if you smell gas. A natural gas leak smells like rotten eggs. If you suspect a gas leak, leave your home immediately. Get far away, then call 911. Remember, smell, leave, call. Protect the ones you love. Learn more at pscg.com/gas safety.